Hello there, this is Chris, and welcome back to the Holistic Guidance and Support Podcast. Today, I have an exciting topic. It is how to keep moving when you feel stuck or overwhelmed. And this topic hits close to home in my life. I know that I've experienced more times than I'd like to admit these feelings of being stuck or overwhelmed, or even it can show up in a more subtle way, feeling unmotivated, feeling tired. Yeah, so there's different levels of intensity when it comes to these feelings. But yeah, I'm really excited to share a few things around what to do if you're experiencing feelings of overwhelm, feelings of being stuck. So, first of all, it's about having a space where you can actually think and feel in terms of where you actually are right now. Something that helps me create that space is journaling. And it's amazing how writing a few things down and just being really honest and really clear and really present can really create a bit more acceptance, create a bit more clarity. And it can just be cathartic in a way that it builds kind of faith in your capacity to process whatever's going on. When you can write it down, you can sort of acknowledge it. You can acknowledge, yes, this is actually what I'm experiencing. And it can be a really good first step because journaling's always available. It's always, I mean, it's almost always available. Like most people have paper and a pen handy. And yeah, it's a really good first step. And perhaps a really good second step is to not try to navigate it all by yourself. If it is overwhelm or feeling stuck, it's likely that there's a few components to it. So it's good to have someone to talk to, a trusted confidant, a friend, a therapist, someone that you can trust enough to start sharing what's going on. And chances are you'll gain some perspective probably in the process of sharing and opening up and articulating what it is that's going on. It'll come out a certain way based on whoever you're talking to. And you may receive some feedback if that's something you're looking for as well. And that could also give you more perspective. Sometimes this can be a bit of a daunting step because it's not easy being vulnerable, and it's not easy being vulnerable with just anyone. So I think bringing some discernment to who you turn to, and also bring some compassion to yourself that it's not easy to get everything right all the time. So it's a practice, and so it may help a lot talking to one person, and it may help a little bit talking to a different person. And in some cases, it may not help at all talking to some people. So bring a bit of discernment there. Listen to your intuition as you move into whatever conversation feels appropriate or feels right for you. So yeah, really important to not navigate certain things by yourself, I believe. I think we're all souls that are yearning for some kind of reuniting on this planet. you know, and we're not meant to just live out our life in too much singularity, too much isolation, too much separation. So you can look at this as an opportunity to create more intimacy, more trust, more connection with another person. And when you start to look at overwhelm through that frame, it takes a bit of the heat out of it. Like, yes, this might be uncomfortable. Yes, this might be confronting, but I'm also able to bridge new connection and new territory with another person, and that can be quite healing. It can be quite validating. Um, so yeah, it's good to collaborate with others. So another thought on how do I deal with overwhelm, deal with feeling stuck? How do I keep moving? Another thought is don't sort of lump everything together and focus on everything you've got to do or everything you've got to change. Don't do that all at once. It's good to break it down. So, and this is where writing things out and talking to someone else, you can start to see what is actually going on and what are the different layers or different parts or pieces involved. And once you can see the different parts and pieces, you can also see what could I take action on sort of today? And maybe what am I not ready to change right now, but just be aware of it. Um, it's good to have this awareness, this clarity, and being able to break things down. And instead of looking at the whole Mount Everest, you're kind of looking at the different ledges that you can see moving up the mountain. Um, and you're not just trying to jump straight up to the top of the mountain. So that's really important to look at overwhelm in that context, in that frame. And you might sort of see, okay, this is something I can do something about now, or I can do something about today. Um, and these other things I'm not so sure about, but at least you've got some sort of plan. So you can make a plan from once you've broken things down. You can start to make a plan of what's actually actionable. And it also reminds me, I've been involved in different 12-step programs over the years, and maybe some of you have too. And there's something called the Serenity Prayer, which is, if I can remember it correctly, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that's another frame you can use in all these different pieces. Like what feels realistic to change right now, and maybe what doesn't feel so realistic to change, or what am I ready to change, and maybe what am I not ready to change, or what doesn't feel changeable right now. So just bringing some awareness to that, and some curiosity to that. So that leads me to the next thing. Like, action is really essential. I mean, this energy of being overwhelmed, this energy of being stuck, if we try to sit down and just think about it all day, physically we're kind of in this static place. And it's really good if you can move your body. It's really good if you can just start taking action as well. And my recommendation is, even if you do something that isn't even related to whatever it is you're worried about, just get started. Like, for example, I will sometimes wake up, and that's when my mind can go into thinking about some problem in my life. When I first wake up, I'm lying in bed, and in that moment my body's not doing much, like I'm just lying there. And sometimes it's just about getting out of bed. It's just about putting the kettle on, making a cup of tea. It's about putting my shoes on, going for a walk around the block. It's just about doing something that I have some level of confidence in, just to get myself moving and to start this action of self care. So if I go for a walk, if I have a cup of tea, that's me kind of taking care of myself. It's me already starting to fulfill the promises that I like to keep and like to make, which is there's certain rituals that I just want to do, like every day or almost every day, that look after me and get me sort of building that confidence every day. So I know for me, the morning can be a tricky time because my body's been still for a while, and I'll wake up and I can sort of be in my mind and it can take me into problem solving mode. And there's not a lot of problems I'm going to solve just lying there without moving. So it's better that I don't just stay in my mind and stay in this kind of static position. So sometimes I tell myself, I don't I don't need to solve this problem lying in bed by thinking about it endlessly or for an extended period of time. What would be helpful is just to get myself moving first, because that can it can give me the confidence that I need to then start to take a bigger step. So maybe after my walk and cup of tea, I do my journaling, and then maybe after my journaling, that's when I call someone. And at this point, I'm starting to believe that, like, oh, I can actually still make a difference today. I can still look after myself. I may not have all the answers yet, but I'm I am demonstrating to myself that I'm making an effort to discover whatever answers I need to discover, or at least get the ball moving, get the process started. So yeah, the other thing to remember is I come back to opportunity, that word opportunity. Just bringing some compassion, bringing some acknowledgement that whatever is playing out, whatever situation that is perhaps linked to this feeling of overwhelm, um, or feeling stuck, chances are this is another opportunity to keep integrating whatever shadows or whatever traumas, whatever um, parts of yourself that have been left behind, whatever parts of yourself that when you were younger perhaps couldn't cope with reality, didn't have the resources to process things. And maybe there's times in your life when you genuinely were in a situation where it was too much for you to process in that moment, and you had to kind of disconnect in some way. And even though it can be really hard that this overwhelm comes up, and maybe it comes up periodically in your life, if you can create a space to be with these experiences and not disconnect from them like you had to when you were younger to survive, now perhaps you're in a place where you can work through them, you can be with them, and being with the feelings, being with the emotions, slowing down can be part of this. So there's a bit of a paradox here. Like, I'm sort of telling you on one hand or not telling you, but perhaps suggesting that you start taking action on things. And then I'm also suggesting that you slow down and be with these feelings. And it's true, it can be a bit of a dance. between those two things. And again, listening to your intuition might tell you, well, the first thing I got to do is go for my walk, or I've got to just move my body, or I've got to do some breathing exercises just to come back into the moment a bit, and also kind of build my confidence that I can take action. I can start to look after myself. And then on the other hand, you may also need some practice or some experience where you can create some space for these feelings that are going on, and maybe drop into them a bit more, or and maybe the journaling is going to help with this, maybe some meditation and some breathing, and again, maybe talking to a trusted confidant or therapist. And I know I mentioned the word trauma earlier, so if you are working with trauma, I highly recommend finding a good therapist to assist you. Um, yeah, so there is that dance between slowing down and having space for your experience and dropping into it more if you can. But as I said, make sure you got the support in yourself and perhaps in the people around you if you're dealing with something that is challenging. But at some point, when it is safe to do so, being able to be with these experiences, it will, if you can feel these feelings, let's say feel them in a way that you couldn't feel them when you were younger, perhaps, you are starting to heal and integrate more of yourself. Like there is this coming together and this coming home to yourself. And, you know, it will evolve. Like, it's not a never ending journey of the same kind of challenge. Like, you may encounter similar episodes, but there will be some sort of trajectory or some sort of pathway that is coming through all of this, some sort of evolution where your relationship to these emotions, these feelings, and how you can work with them or be with them and process them will mature over time. So I'm confident that that is likely, or maybe more than likely, that there is almost like this unfolding and this, if there has been this contraction or this, let's call it like a suffocation in part of who you are, um, it can learn to defrost and start to grow again, these different parts that have been contracted or haven't felt safe. So just know that, just to recap, perhaps it's about having the support. And as I mentioned, if there is some challenging things that you're going through, particularly if there's trauma in your life, I highly recommend you have a professional to help you move through that. And also just having a network or a community, a network of family, wherever the trust is in your life or wherever the support is in your life. Yeah, making sure that you don't do things alone and that you do uh, draw upon these other people. Sometimes uh, we don't realize that we're giving them an opportunity too, because there's a lot of people out there that they want to feel like they're needed. So maybe they want to be able to help you work through whatever it is. And some of the things that might be contributing to the overwhelm or the feeling stuck, like some of the different pieces or parts might be appropriate for a friend to help with, or someone in a local community to help with. And maybe some of the biggest stuff that's a bit more gritty or um, trauma related, let's say, maybe that's something you can bring to a professional. But either way, you don't have to do it alone. And there are also free resources. Where I am in Melbourne, Australia, there's Lifeline, there's helplines for men, there's helplines for women. Um, there's a variety of different helplines. So even if you're financially challenged in affording a a trained therapist, you may be able to access one to start with, at least over the phone, just to move things forward, just to give you some support. So yeah, overwhelm and feeling stuck, they can it can take time to unravel and unpack some of these experiences. And sometimes, as I mentioned, you may experience like cycling back to these kind of things, and it might show up in one situation and then another situation and down the track. So don't don't be discouraged. Just know that you are moving forward, and it's okay if you're working through these experiences several or many times, and it's going to take as long as it takes, and that's okay. And yeah, just know that you could still be very much on track. And so it's important not to make your experiences wrong. It's important to accommodate your experiences and bring some compassion and maintain the faith and the trust in your journey, and what's coming up, and maintain the faith and the trust in yourself, in that you know it's okay for you to acknowledge what's really here and to keep learning about it and processing it. So that's about it for today. I hope you've found this helpful in some way or enjoyed hearing about these things on some level. And yeah, that's the episode for today. And take care, have a good day, and believe in yourself. And I'll see you again soon.